back to All Things Cinema Podcast. You are watching me and Sadiq all the way from Karachi, Pakistan. And today, the occasion is such we have crossed halfway mark of 2022. We are in July now, and we thought let's get together and try and discuss the films we liked so far in this year. And first of all, let's tell the people who are watching right now that this is in no particular order. This is just the films we loved this year. It's like if an X film comes first in the list doesn't mean we like it more than the others. We enjoyed all these films equally. And to start off, let's start with the first film that comes to my mind, which takes me back to the beginning of 2022, which was uh, Badhai Do, because this film, I think it's one of those rare films in Indian cinema where they have touched upon the subject of homophobia, and so far whatever we have seen in Indian cinema when it comes to these subjects, these subjects were not treated as delicately or as sensibly as they should have been. But this film actually did such a wonderful job of portraying the homosexual people in a very very sensible way. Sadiq, as somebody who's in Pakistan, did you admire the way these things are now being touched upon in Indian cinema?
Absolutely, absolutely. And over the last few years, if we have seen that, it has become, I mean, it was such a taboo topic to be covered with, but the way it has been covered now by Hindi cinema, and I'm highly pointing out Hindi cinema because Hindi cinema is trying its level best to cover this topic in a wide variety of ways.
Yeah.
And it's such a sensitive topic and it's a very difficult topic to cover, and some people do get offended, but they are trying to cover it through OTT platforms, which makes it much easier to cover. Because when you release such films on mainstream and in cinemas, it gets difficult to get the audience, because obviously not everyone will agree with the points and all that stuff. So it can make this issue. But again, they have covered it so well in Badayo and many other films that have also released in the last few years regarding the LGBT topic. But
Yeah.
what makes
Uh,
Badayo,
what comes to my mind is, in particular, if you've seen Made in Heaven. So in that
yeah,
series, the way they showed the gay relationship,
yeah,
that was very tastefully done. And then I
yeah,
think the first one really, like somebody who was the flag bearer in terms of this kind of performance or character, is your own Pakistani actor,
Fawad Khan,
Fawad Khan, who did a wonderful
Kapoor and
job in,
Sons,
yeah, Kapoor and Son. So I think that's where
yeah,
probably that change started somewhere. I feel
yeah,
the way Shakun Batra uh,
yeah,
wrote that character, and then a
yes,
lot of people in Bollywood were approached for that role, and nobody did it. And Fawad hit the six of the first ball. So
yeah,
now talking of
and
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and coming from such a conservative country that doesn't treat homosexuals and doesn't try to understand them well. So Fawad doing it was a very big risk also, because he had to obviously return back to his country and had to, show his face to the people. So it was quite a big, I mean, it was a big risk he took, and I'm glad it took, it went very well. And at that time, I think the religious political scenario was slightly better in Pakistan, not as it is now, because things have worsened after that. But yes, it was a good time that he did that particular film, and I'm glad that film became a really big hit. So yeah, it's good that it came from one of our countrymen.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Shakun Batra, now the next movie that comes to my mind is again his. He returned to directing after a very long time in Gehraiyaan. Now a lot of people had very polarizing views on this film because, first of all, before the film came out, just based on trailers and songs, people were just judging the film based on trailer, and they were coming to conclusions that this film is probably highlighting infidelity, and it's like glorifying all these things. But I think that's like a very amateur way of coming to conclusions, jumping the gun based on, how they say never judge a book by its cover. So once the film came out and we saw what the film actually wanted to say, and what it the message it conveyed was very very well handled by Shakun Batra, and amazing performances, good music, everything combined together to give us, if not a memorable or an unforgettable film, but at least a very sensible original Bollywood film, which was missing for a long time
Absolutely.
because everyone was just doing remakes all this time.
Absolutely, and I totally agree on this. And it was a bit sad that many people were directly bashing this film, and some people didn't even watch it, but they start to bash it before the film was released. That it's dealing with infidelity and promoting infidelity, in fact. And they were saying that it's a sasta version of Kabhi Alvidana Kehna and whatnot. But once I watched that film, and specifically, I wanted to highlight the character of Siddhant Chaturvedi, that how cunningly he used Deepika and Ananya Pandey. I mean, the character that was done. So I think if you watch the film, so the film is not really about infidelity, but it's about opportunism. That how that specific character is using the people around him, and how he's trying to fool them, and get the monetary benefits and what not it was. So I think yes, and I agree that to judge any film by the trailer, I think it's wrong, and to bash it before even its release. So I think people should abstain from it. That you know, and if you want to bash it, fine, but at least watch the film and then try to bash it, and at least try to highlight the good parts also. Not all films are completely useless. I mean, even if the storyline or the screenplay of a film is bad, then some technical aspects of the film are always good. Like even in Gehraiyaan, if I say the film may not be as good as people wanted or expected to be, but some of the good parts of this film were its outstanding cinematography and the lightning and the shots they took in all those scenes, which I really loved. Some of the dark angles. I mean, the dark scenes that was there. And apart from that, the music, I mean, specifically Dube and one more song I forgot. So, I mean, these two, three songs were really,
Yeah.
really good in this film. So, yes, I mean, it was a good film, a good one-time watch at least for me.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise that this year, if I compare it to last year when I was doing the midway mark of 2021 with Farad, we didn't have a lot of Hindi films in our list, but this year we already covered a couple of them. And the third one, which comes to mind, which again came at the beginning of the year, was Gangubai Kathiawadi. Uh, that film, I think, probably you know took Alia Bhatt to a level which she herself wouldn't have imagined before she signed this film, that whether I'll be able to pull off this kind of a character or not, because so many people had reservations, not just in terms of her acting skills, that whether she can pull it off or not, but also the way the actual character should have looked, because a lot of people were saying, based on trailer, again jumping the gun, that somebody like a Vidya Balan or a Tabu would have killed it in this kind of a role, but people sort of then came to terms with how Alia did once the film came out, and probably they went home satisfied after that performance.
Absolutely. And again, and I am also one of those guilty people that, when I watched the trailer, I, for one, didn't like it, and I thought that Alia could be a misfit because of her, baby-faced image,
Yeah.
and I thought that maybe she won't be able to deliver. And me, along with a few friends, we thought that I don't think this film will be able to do that, and then SLB could disappoint. But boy, we were wrong. And Alia, not only she was a good fit, she did her absolute best, and she was convincing in almost every part. I mean, I do agree that even after watching the film, that she did look a bit more younger, and maybe she was not perfectly aligned with the looks of it, but the manner in which she performed, and she was able to gel into that role. I mean, she was like I mean, it looked like that it was Gangubai all the way. I mean, at times it never looked that we are watching Alia, but it looked like that we are watching Gangubai. So she tried her level best to do the method acting that was required from her, and I was really happy with it. And a few drawbacks, and I think the only drawback of the film that Vijay Raj I think was not utilized as he should have been, because the role I think was a bit small and it was not as impactful as it could have been. I think that was the only issue that I think, but otherwise, excellent film. And again, the specialty of SLB is technical details. I mean, the angles he takes, the set design he has, always outstanding.
So, talking of Runway 34 now, I saw it in theaters, and I knew that this is a kind of film which is to be enjoyed in a theater because, a lot of films which have proper, airplane and flight scenes. If you have seen Sully starring Tom Hanks, so, you enjoy all those kind of scenes in a theater much more. So the whole cockpit and everything, and then the courtroom drama that followed up. So I'm sure you could only catch Runway 34 somewhere in a very pirated way, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
So, but I'm sure
yes.
the film was still enjoyable, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And many people, again, I have to mention that many people were bashing it without even watching, and they were saying that it's a sasta version of Flight, and their actual words that they actually said, some of them, because on Facebook people like to troll films, that it's the sasta version of Sully and Flight combined. And after watching it, I got to know that it was a real incident, I think, which happened in I'm not sure, Cochin, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It happened in India, and it was not actually a remake, but yes, the screenplay was inspired from Sully and Flight. But that's the only thing which is similar with these films. Otherwise, the film is totally different, and it's a really good film which shows that the hardships that pilots have to go through. And even if they are able to save the lives of the people with them, they still have to go through such adverse scenarios. And which is, I think, at times really good also. And the manner in which they were able to show it, it was really good. So, yep. And I totally agree that Ajay is a very, I think, he's a very smart guy. He's a very mature guy. And at least for now, he's not focusing that the limelight should be on him only. And it was evident in Gangubai that in that small 8 to 10 minutes role, he was still able to create an impact. Same in RRR and same here in Runway 34 also, because it was a big star cast. It also had Amitabh, it also had Boman Irani, it also had other characters also. So it was good that Ajay is able to, do some mature roles.
Yeah, and I think what really stuck with me was the fact that how well it was shot. Like, we have seen so many films in Bollywood before where they've tried to film within airplanes, or tried to create those sets which look very fake and artificial. But this one looked so realistic. And in an interview, I heard him say that there were 12 cameras in the cockpit itself. So that tells you the level of detailing it had. Okay, and the last one on the list is again a film which was kind of a surprise of some sort. It's a Ranveer Singh film. It's a YRF film, but very forgetful music. Didn't really get promoted as it should have been. But then, when I watched it in theater, I was pleasantly surprised. And I'm talking about Jesh Bhai Jordar, because this was a film which had, which didn't really have a lot of hype around it. I don't know. It could be something how YRF has actually, gone in the last few months. If you remember, Bunty or Bubbly was not properly
Yeah.
promoted. This was not properly promoted. Now even Shamshera, all of a sudden Shamshera is here. There's no proper pathway through which they will, build a crescendo, and then people would be looking forward to it. I mean, so this film, although with good content, good acting, good message, it should have done a lot more business, considering that it had a huge star like Ranveer Singh. But due to YRF's own shortcomings, it didn't. But at the end of the day, it's a good film. Your thoughts on how this film touched upon the delicate message of feticide and everything?
When I watched it, and again, I watched it with very few expectations, because from the trailer, I didn't think it created much hype. But when I watched it, and when I got to know that even though it's made on sort of a cliche topic like female foticide and stuff, but the manner in which what showed, and it a very light manner, I mean, light-hearted, funny which what showed, So it was really good, and I think people still should try to watch these films, and some I mean films like these should be made. And I think promotion of these films really matter. I mean, as you mentioned, and you were really right, that a film like Shamshera, which has a really good star cast, it hasn't been promoted that way. I mean, it's hardly a month remaining, not even month, 3 weeks, and they have, just distributed, or even pulled out the trailer as if it's a very small film. I think same happened with Rocketry also. I mean, the film was promoted in less than a week. I mean, it was the trailer was available, I think, a year or two back. But again, so I mean, the marketing does matter, and that's why I think Judge by Jordar did suffer here. And it's unfortunate for Ranveer Singh that even 83 was not as big hit, or I think it was just an average. It was just able to recover the cost that it was incurred thanks to OTT and other platforms. But I think he it deserves a big hit. So let's see what happens, because Jeshbai was not as bad as the result it got. But yeah, I agree on that.
Okay, so that was our list of the five Hindi films that we liked this year. It's in no particular order. We like these films. Doesn't matter how much money they earned at the box office or how much uh, star ratings they got by critics online. These are the films we enjoyed, and we felt that these films stood out for us until the first half of the year. And so this was it. We'll be back with another video where we'll be discussing our top five in some other language probably. So until then, keep watching All Things Cinema podcast. If you have not subscribed to Sadik's channel, the link is in the description. You can check that out as well. And thank you so much for watching.